Welcome to this exhibition, Stormy Weather, at Centre Culturel Suisse. My name is Claire Hoffmann. I'm curator here, and I conceived this show together with Katharina Brandl, the artistic director of Kunstraum Niederoesterreich. The exhibition Stormy Weather is a project that talks about the effects of technology onto the political and the real climate.
Hello also from my side, welcome. As Claire has already pointed out, we're already in the middle of the show Stormy Weather, and talking about clouds in this show means talking about clouds as a symbol. So why do we even conceive the cloud in this cloud-like icon, for example? But also cloud as a metaphor. What does it mean to talk in weather metaphors? And also, of course, the cloud as a reality, as a political reality, as a technological reality that also affects, then again, weather and climate.
And you might think that this is a show about the internet, but actually we want really to point out the difference between the cloud that is private, commercialized, surveilled space that has come up in the last 10 or 15 years versus the internet as it was thought in the 90s as a radically democratic, participatory and free space.
And that also already leads us to the first work that we want to talk about, qual.net by the Swiss media artist Wachter, which is behind us. So as you can see, we're standing in front of something that you might recognize, a huge phone which tries to connect to the internet, to a Wi-Fi network. Qual.net is a project where the artists conceived a mesh network, so it's a network from device to device. It actually also works. You can log on to the network when you're at CCS. So there is a router hidden in the space. It's not really hidden, but there is a router, and then you can log on to the network and actually chat to other people in the space.
The strength of qual.net or a mesh network is that it is, as you can see, from device to device, and that means it's not connected to the internet, so it's not interferable. It cannot be surveilled. So this was used by activists, for example, at the Gezi Park or during the Arab Spring.
Let's move on to the next work that also again will show us how political the cloud actually is, Circumventing the Circle of Death by Total Refusal. So one thing that we actually didn't talk about just before is the subtitle of the work, Circumventing the Circle of Death, a pacifist finger exercise. So the media collective Total Refusal actually works a lot with screen-based games, with video games, and they kind of try to not use the affordances that the game suggests. So what we see in the work is a strategy game with two armies, and when they're confronted with each other, the only thing that they can do is fight actually. And they found a cheat which is running in circles.
So the collective Total Refusal tries to use the avatars in video games to do actions that are not planned by the game itself, which is the case here with two armies running around in circle, or also in the new piece that they did for this show, Money is a Form of Speech, which is a guided tour in Washington, D.C., where they bring us to the monuments of democracy and reveal the violent history that is behind these monuments.
So the topic of the politics of the cloud doesn't end with the works that we just showed you. Next, we want to introduce you to Marc Lee's project, Political Campaigns. When you're in the space, you will see those are two screens, back to back kind of. One is a generative piece, which live sources social media accounts via hashtags. So it's a live match between two people, Trump and Biden, and each and every day when the computer is turned on, the match starts again. So it looks like, or it is done like a live TV show, but what it does, it doesn't show you actual content. So it kind of reflects upon how social media influenced also the very concrete political sphere. And on the other side, you see a screen from the campaign before that. So it's a match, Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump.
So the subtitle of the work is Battle of Opinion in Social Media, and obviously Marc talks about these echo chambers in which we are somehow caught when we use social media, and also this direct effect that social media has on political outcomes and elections. We're standing in front of the work of Fragmentin, a collective from Switzerland, and what they did was to research all kinds of occurrences of artificial rain. That means rain that was triggered by a human action, which is called cloud seeding. So by spreading silver iodide into clouds, you can trigger rain in order to prevent hail storms, for example, or to have a nice blue sky for a military parade. And they made a water basin where it seems to be raining, but if you put your hands, you will see it's not really rain. So it is the illustration of their data that they collected for this pluvium.
So we meet again in front of a second work from the collective Fragmentin that we decided to include in the exhibition, which is called Your Phone Needs to Cool Down. What you see is a phone that actually needs to cool down because it has been heated up by the lamp on top of it. Maybe you know this kind of notification from your phone when you go to the beach. When it gets a little bit too warm, in the upper 40 degrees, it gives you the warning that it needs to cool down. And what the phone does in the work is to research solutions to climate change, because what is interesting about the work is, or what for us was interesting in the show, is that technological advances get often framed in terms of techno-solutionism. So the idea that all of the big challenges that we're going to face in the next years, and of course climate change being one very big of them, that technological advances will help us. But then again, with this work, we also see not only the technology is very normative and done for specific climate regions, but also that our technology itself is endangered by the effects of climate change, not only rising temperatures, but also rising and lowering sea levels, for example.
The work in the back is by Yein. It's called Atmospheric Trouble, and you can see a lot of cables on the floor hanging from the ceiling. But it's actually a totally unconnected piece. The cables are more a drawing in the space. With the elements that Yein uses, she triggers thoughts about wetware computing, which is an utopian technology to think about how you could link biological and technological elements to imagine a new solution, a new technology. Yein Li's piece also has a very aquatic side about it. It looks like floating jellyfish in the ocean, and actually we can also think about the underwater cables that link the internet all around the world, that make the internet work, and they're actually also very endangered by the climate change. At the place where the cables come onto the continents, the rising sea level endangers this infrastructure, the invisible infrastructure, which we base our everyday life on. Langschied printed motherboards onto silver foil and used the form of the Tibetan prayer flags that are believed to spread prayers into the winds. So he connects this spiritual practice with our belief system that connects us to all the technology that we use in our everyday life. All this invisible infrastructure that sustains so much of our work and our system.
Till, accompanying to his flag piece, also shows a video in the space with the same claim: the digital is metaphysical. And if we think about, for example, how we also speak in weather metaphors, there is always a lacking agency, which kind of connects back to the idea from centuries ago that weather phenomena can or should be read as divine intervention. So the idea of connecting the cloud to something spiritual is also very deeply rooted in our cultural history.
We're standing in front of a very beautiful and typical cloud by Christiane Peschek, who printed a Photoshop cloud onto glass. And this is leaning onto a whole wall of a beautiful blue sky, which is also artificial. So Christiane Peschek is talking about how the image of clouds are created artificially and pretend to be completely natural.
The next video installation that we want to show you is a work by Susanna and Leonhard Müllner called Morgen erst, Abend letzt. What you can see in the installation are 3 screens with natural phenomena, seemingly natural phenomena that actually aren't. Those are all images taken from so-called let's play videos, where video gamers show their skill, so to say, on YouTube. So this is a YouTube genre. And on the audio level, you hear expressions of astonishment of gamers. So they are deeply amazed, deeply touched by the natural phenomena that they see. For example, by the perfect dawn or the perfect sky.
What you can see is Stefan Karl's desktop, and he is taken into his digital archive of cloud images that he has amassed from the internet, and it's ordered by the metadata like lonely cloud, cool cloud, crazy cloud.
It also takes the human kind of out of the equation, because what actually is a cool cloud? What is a lone cloud, or what is a crazy cloud? So we talked about a lot of works that deal with how our life is affected by the cloud, via politics, via climate change. And this work also just shows us how we practice our life with the cloud. We just store data, and we make up graveyards of data that are stored somewhere else, and we don't even know where they actually are. So with the question, which data graveyard you're actually keeping, I think we're gonna let you go now.
Hoping to see you very soon in real life here at Centre Culturel Suisse. Thank you for joining.
Bye bye.